case was set on for a competency hearing, but I think it was a little quick because we just heard Ms. Lane's case last week and there's no report yet. All right, so we're going to reset Ms. Lane's case for the competency evaluation report to be ready.
Your Honor, if I could interject.
Yeah, Ms. Rowe.
Your Honor, after speaking with Ms. Lane today, I have real questions as to whether an eval should even be done. Ms. Lane she and I spoke for almost a half an hour. She understood everything that we were talking about. And in all transparency, today was the first time that I spoke with Ms. Lane. But I spoke with Ms. Lane at length, and I don't see a legal basis to order a competency evaluation in this case because Ms. Lane, I believe, is in full understanding of what's going on. Now, I can say, Your Honor, that prior to 2022, I did a 5-year stint in ITA court, and I recognize that oftentimes a person with underlying diagnosis may experience trauma and present themselves as needing services, especially when they first get to jail. But Ms. Lane appears to have restabilized to the point where she and I are in good understanding about what's going on and steps in her case to move forward. So I just think that there isn't a basis at this time for 1077.
Okay, well, we can certainly strike the order for a competency evaluation.
Your Honor, just very briefly, where you are.
Mr. Holcomb and I were actually the counsel on the calendar when that was ordered. It was ordered sua sponte. I also had spoken with Ms. Lane, and although she was very upset, I think very triggered and activated, I at the time also did not think she had any issues understanding what was going on. It was just that the situation was extremely upsetting.
Okay.
So
yeah, if she doesn't.
I'm here as well. Like, I don't know which one of you guys, but I am a witness. I need to say something before.
And if it's a prosecutorial decision, then you'll need to talk to the prosecutor about that. But the only thing I'm dealing with right now is whether or not the competency evaluation is going to be ordered or not. And I'm largely going to base that on what Ms. Rose says because she's in the best position to know.
Can I please speak? Because I spoke to Ms. Will on Friday. I'm her daughter.
Okay, just hold on, all right? We're having a court hearing here. It's not an open discussion. And if I need to have you contribute to this, I'll give you an opportunity, okay? Yeah, Mr. Holcomb.
And Your Honor, if the court opts to not order 1077 based upon the input of both defense counsels, then we're back to the issue of the no contact order, which is, I think, possibly one of the reasons why the 1077 was ordered in the first place. And Judge Meyer was the judicial official on the calendar at that time. And my understanding is that Judge Meyer was faced with a very difficult situation where the state was asking for a no contact order due to a history existing between the defendant and the victim in this case. There have been past cases where the defendant in this case has been the victim in those cases. And there's been some underlying history that was reported by Jennifer during that calendar as well. So then we're gonna have to issue the no contact order, because I think the $10,000 bail that was imposed in the first place was in part to resolve the 1077 issue. So I don't know if the court is willing to waive the $10,000 bail at this time, and if the court is willing to do that, then we need to revisit the issue of the no contact order, because I'm not positive if it was ordered or not.
Yeah, Judge Meyer issued the order.
Okay.
And
If I
he set the bail.
If I could
I had-
respond to Mr. Holcomb when the court is ready.
All right, well, I didn't have in mind a bail hearing for this case today because it's not what it was calendared for. In fact, at the previous hearing was just a preliminary hearing on a domestic violence. Charges hadn't even been filed yet. So assuming that the competency order is canceled, the next stage in this case proceedings would be for an arraignment, right? So that hasn't even been calendared yet. And no one has asked for a bail hearing or a conditions review hearing. So as you know, all of you, I typically will not do things like that off the cuff. So, Ms. Rowe?
Your Honor, I can probably give the court a little tiny bit more of a background, but we are, it appears, are going to need to set an arraignment hearing as soon as possible. And after that, to then address bail. I can let the court know that there's kind of two things going on here at once. It appears, after speaking to my client, that her daughter is pursuing guardianship in the civil arena. And I think the concerns noted by the daughter need to continue to be addressed in the civil arena and not the criminal arena. Now that I've spoken with Ms. Lane, and it appears that she is able to meaningfully participate in her own defense. It is so. What I would do is ask, rather than go into what I would be asking and the discussion I would be holding with the court at arraignment, if we could set this for an arraignment date as soon as possible, then at that time we can address release conditions and bail conditions at that time.
Yeah, and I can set an arraignment hearing relatively quickly. Okay, so Jennifer.
Yes, sir.
So you've heard I've kind of got a limited set of things that I'm considering here today. And I think I have decided about the competency issue. If it's not necessary to have Western State do a competency evaluation, I won't have them do it. But the next sort of issue is going to end up being bail, which was previously set by another judge, and whether or not there's a no contact order, also that was issued by another judge earlier. So on those limited issues, is there anything you need the court to hear today?
I do. I absolutely do. I did submit through the clerk's office in record a statement that I wrote. The things, because I know you're trying to get to the end of this, that I'd like you to know is that myself, her primary care provider, and the lead, which is a crisis team, as well as Scouts, which is a crisis team, have all filed complaints with Adult Protective Services. Adult Protective Services gets called, they go to her house and she does not answer the door or answer the phone. She's had her spleen removed in the last 7 months. Her health has deteriorated. I think she weighs 75 pounds. Her primary doctor removed her ability to drive a vehicle because of her state. And sir, I need you to please hear this part. My mom is a mentally disabled adult, according to the federal government. I'm not telling you this like it's like word of mouth, somebody's in mental crisis. My mom is in mental crisis, but as well, she is a mentally disabled adult.
No, I am not.
Disability. She receives disability and has for 30 years. Kevin, the guy in the picture next to her, is also a mentally disabled adult. They bought a house together. You can see, because the case for Kevin is still open. He put her in the ICU for 9 days. 9 days.
Let me stop you and ask you a question. What is it that you expect the court to decide?
Okay, you can also check that in 2023, April
No, hold on
20th.
before you go on. Is there something you need me to decide with regard to this?
Yes, I need her to go to a hospital.
Okay,
A
I
hospital.
can't order her to go to a hospital. So is there anything else you need me to decide?
Yes, I'd like you to have her defense team work with me to get guardianship. And
Can't
the
do
reason I'm
that.
telling you this,
No.
please just listen to me, is
You have
that
to
April
understand.
20th, I tried. I waited for 5 hours to speak to a judge for him to tell me I filled the paperwork out wrong.
No, it's not an issue of your paperwork. That isn't it. This isn't the kind of court that can do a guardianship. Right? This is a criminal case in a district court.
Okay, so.
The guardianship is a
Okay,
different
then
thing in
what
a different
happens to
court.
her? Because there's nowhere for her to go. If she goes home, it's to Kevin right
No,
there.
right now, nothing changes. Right now, she stays where she is, unless she posts bail, and then we're gonna have that arraignment hearing that her attorney was asking for in the next couple of days.
Okay, is that where I
Work out
express
with her.
all of the rest of this?
No,
I don't know how to do this, and there's no
I-
resources available.
I think the first thing to do is you've got to calm down, because you can't hear anything if you're really upset.
I understand.
Okay, and the first thing to do is sort of compartmentalize, right? This is a criminal case in district court. This court is limited to dealing with issues in the criminal case involving her. All right. The issues that you want the court to deal with have to do with, it sounds like, involuntary hospitalization and
So-
potentially guardianship. Those issues are for another court to deal with, and they're not criminal issues. Okay. If you're interested in being a guardian or contributing to the court making a guardianship decision, that's a different court, not this court. So if you do this, if you stand up and start talking to this court about those issues, you're asking me to do things and consider issues that I don't have the jurisdiction to address.
Okay.
Period. I just can't. It's not allowed. All right. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm not telling you that what you're saying isn't important and needs to happen. It just has to be addressed to the right court.
I've also been in hospitals trying to get it addressed. They tell me that I have to be in front of a judge. I understand that. I'm not-
Ma'am, please, I'm sorry. We have 35.
Right. So Jennifer, you're welcome to attend any of her hearings. That's perfectly fine. And as a person who's interested in this criminal case, perfectly fine. It's just, I have to tell you, I can't address those issues. Yeah. Yeah. And you certainly are welcome to come to all those hearings. Now, Ms. Rowe, I want to set this arraignment case. And for the rest of this week, do you have any afternoons that you're available to do that?
All afternoons, I believe. Yep.
How about tomorrow afternoon then on the DV arraignment calendar?
That'll be fine.
Okay. And then,
Put her.
of course, you can address bail and other issues. All right.
Mhm.
Okay. So, Ms. Lane, we're going to see you tomorrow afternoon. And Ms. Rowe will be here for you then.
Mr. Padzurka, if I could have you write down my number for Miss Lane.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I
This isn't
appreciate it.
fair. This isn't right.
Miss Lane, everything's gonna be fine.